How's it going, everyone? Today I'm going to be showing you how to replace the front lower control arms on a 2003 and newer Saab 9.3. So I have both of my new lower control arms sitting right here. This hopefully should not be a terribly difficult process. I haven't done this job before, but we have two bolts back in here that are holding this side in. There's one bolt up under here that is holding that corner in, and then we have one more bolt for the ball joint right up in there. So in theory, hopefully this won't take too long. I did just spray everything down with PB Blaster. I'd recommend you do the same. The whole reason I'm doing this repair is because of this strange side-to-side issue I've been having. I'll explain it here again briefly. I've talked about it before in a couple of other videos, but pretty much what happens is when I'm cornering hard with this car, like at high speeds, probably like 70 miles an hour or so, it'll shake side to side. The whole car will move side to side. And I don't know what it is. I've replaced a couple parts already, and if this doesn't do it, I'm probably just going to take it into a shop to have them professionally diagnose and fix it, because the only other thing I can think of is subframe bushing. So we're going to try this out, hope this fixes it, and try and save myself a little bit of money. But if not, well, I guess I'm out of luck. But anyways, one last thing before this video starts. If you guys want access to more content and you want to see videos like this early, make sure to check out my Patreon. It'll be linked at the top of the description down below. But let's go ahead, get into this repair. Right now we're looking at the part of the control arm that is on the back side of the car, and obviously towards the back, not the part that's connected to the brake rotor and hub and everything. Just to give you guys some perspective since the camera's already zoomed in. So what we have here is two 18 millimeters on top and also two 18 millimeters below. So we're going to need to get a wrench on this and also a socket on this to hold one side while we loosen the other. I'm using the breaker bar on this, and I have the 18 millimeter wrench just wedged against that there, and it's still, oh man, that's tough. I'm going to skip the part with me struggling a lot here, and I'll catch up with you guys when I get those off. So actually there wasn't much struggle with that one. I just stuck the impact on it as soon as I stopped recording, and it broke loose. So I did a couple turns with the breaker bar on this one. Let's see if the impact can get it out the rest of the way again. I love power tools. In retrospect, I didn't think about this, but if you're doing this job, you might want to order new hardware, because these bolts have seen better days. I'm sure the rest of them are going to all look like this too. Now I'm going to get this other one at the back here. This one is again 18 millimeter on both sides. One is a nut and then one is the end of the bolt. So I put a wrench on this end, or I should say I had a wrench on this end. Apologize for this plastic like fender liner being in the way, but I don't want to remove that unless I absolutely need to. So I'm going to get that bolt out the rest of the way. Now it's probably going to be a lot of cranking on the ratchet. This one's out now. Thankfully it just kind of slid out after I got the nut off the end. Wasn't too bad. Now we just have the front one left for the ball joint. If you come up under the car here behind the hub, you'll see on one side you've got a 16 millimeter nut, and then on the other side here you've got an E14 head of a bolt. So I'm going to use a 16 on one side and then the E14 on the other side. Same process like for the other two or other three bolts we've already removed, and then we should be able to pop our control arm off. Thankfully this breaker bar is long enough that it just gets, you know, it's like I set these things up and I start talking about them and then they fall out of perfect position as soon as I start to brag about the way that I set it up. But this breaker arm or breaker bar here is long enough to where it gets caught on the ground. Damn it.
They ask you how you are, you fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
I don't know if that got caught on camera there, but the breaker bar fell off after I got the nut off and it smacked me right in the nose. Oh, the things I do for this freaking car. This bolt, thankfully like the others though, is at least going to just slide right out. Oh, that really hurt. So sometimes what you need to separate the control arm here from the hub is it's called a pickle fork. I actually borrowed a couple from my buddy Lucas. So I'll show you guys what they look like, but it doesn't look like I'm going to need it for this. Because it seemed like the ball joint here just kind of popped out. Which is nice, because normally you'd stick it in between or on either side of that right there and then kind of pry it out. But you can see mine just thankfully came right out. So now we should be able to... Oh yeah, there we go, right out. Not too bad at all. Before we reinstall this, one thing I do want to mention, it depends on what side you're doing. I'm starting with the passenger side. So I know on the driver's side of this car, it has this part. But you'll see there's this little motor and mechanism right here, and it bolts to the lower control arm with just a little 10 millimeter. I don't know exactly what that does, something with the suspension, and I don't know, but point is you need to remove it. This side didn't have it though. I think it's only on one side, like I said. So yeah, but I think it's about time to slap our new control arm in. So I kind of like mess around with this, compare it to this one. It's definitely not as stiff. I can kind of wiggle it around like this, whereas this one, I kind of got to like grab it in a different angle and it tries to pull the whole control arm up with it. This bushing here, I don't know, it looks fine. This one is cracked just a little bit maybe. It looks like it's pretty like dry rotted, but it doesn't seem to be busted. So I'm not sure. But hopefully one of these bushings was bad. Maybe it was this. Maybe one of the ones on the other side was bad, but I don't know. Let's stop speculating and reinstall this. So I'm thinking my plan to reinstall this here is going to be to put these back bolts in first, just because they're going to hold more of the weight. Just kind of push them into place. Might have to line up the hub with the ball joint down here, it looks like. There we go. I got that ball joint up into place now. If you can't get the ball joint in, I would recommend using a jack to kind of push it up in, but it's hard to kind of make sure it's straight, as I literally just learned 2 seconds ago. But if mine slid in, yours will probably slide in too. At least I would think. Don't take that out of context. So because it's the first bolt I grabbed, I'm putting in this other 18 millimeter that happens to be on the front of the car. Even though I have the camera on the other side, I really didn't plan that well. So the nut goes on top. So you want to stick the bolt through bottom to top. There's the first one through. And I get the nut on the end. Start tightening it by hand as much as I can. I'm noticing the second one doesn't want to line up, so I'm going to stick a flathead back here in the space to try and like push it forward a little bit to get it to line up. There we go. Hey, there we go. It actually worked. Cool. Put the nut on top here. Last time I'm going to get this one for the ball joint started here. I had to push the ball joint up just a little bit more to get it in. But all of them are now at least started. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten them all down now, and then we'll be ready to do the final steps, and we should be done. So last step here, I have the jack positioned under the ball joint, and I'm going to jack up the suspension so it's sitting where it would be with weight on the car. And you can see the car started to move up there, so that means I'm good. Now I'm going to make sure that these back bolts are tightened again, just to be extra safe. Now we can let this back down. It's kind of cool to see the coilover compress and decompress as you do that. Now I am going to do the other side, which there's no point in me filming because, well, you just saw me do it here. Again, remember, the only thing you might have to do is use a 10mm on that little bracket that is attached to the control arm. One thing I do want to note before I switch to the outro and whether or not this actually worked is I just got the driver's side out. I am noticing that this here is just about the same. It's not like super loose, but it's about the same as the other one. Definitely not as stiff as the new control arm, but that one looks fine too. But this one here, I noticed, if you look at that inner part, you might notice that like right in there, it's kind of smashed on one side, almost like it's going in there crooked. Might be a little bit hard to see, but once you know what I'm talking about, you'll see like the space between the rings right here versus the space between the rings on this side. You see that significant difference? So maybe that's what was causing it. I mean, I put my leg on here. I can like kind of wiggle it a little bit. It almost looks like this was a little bit messed up. So maybe that's what it was. Either way, it doesn't look right. But yeah. So I just finished sliding that new one in on that side. So I got to put it all back together. And yeah, so I'll catch up with you guys in a couple days. So it's been a couple days now since I've done the lower control arms. I've taken the car to drive a bit, and I can say the issue is somewhat solved. So pretty much it does that weird shifting from side to side now when I'm turning right. It does not do it when I'm turning left, and this is under hard cornering. So I don't know what it could be. Again, it could be something like subframe bushings. It could also be a wheel bearing that's bad, but it doesn't really make any weird noises while I'm driving. So I think what I'm probably going to do is at some point just take it to a Saab shop here and have them properly diagnose it, because I don't really have the time to continue to diagnose this and throw parts at it if it's not going to get fixed. So with that being said, though, that's how you replace lower control arms on a 2003 and newer Saab 9.3. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you all next time.